Welcome to your Joyous Light Summit, the successful woman's guide to easily rise above life's challenges and live a life filled with joy. I'm your host, Melanie Newman. I am a certified Simply Healed practitioner who loves to work with women who have had challenges in their lives and help them connect back to joy. Today, I am delighted to spend time with today's expert, Gabriel Gonsalves. Let me tell you a bit about him. Venezuelan-born Gabriel Gonsalves is a coach, author, and founder of Heart and Mind Consulting, where he helps people create a life they love. This includes having deeper, more loving relationships, experiencing greater health and well-being, while building a thriving, heart-centered business that allows you to fully express yourself and have ample income to do what you love. Gabriel is a leading expert in heart intelligence coaching, a path to personal development that is heart-centered, integral, results-oriented, and deeply transformational. His coaching style combines his experience and passion for personal development, spirituality, and the performance arts. He currently lives in Cape Town, South Africa, where he enjoys spending quality time with close friends, riding horses, hiking, walking along Long Beach, or working on other creative projects that help people connect with their hearts. Gabriel, I love that. Connect with their hearts. Thank you so much for being with us today.
You're very welcome, Melanie. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be part of your summit. And again, thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you. You are welcome. I want to just jump right in and start and ask you what has been or what is a personal story of how you have overcome your own challenges and discovered your purpose and your path to joy.
Oh, goodness. One story. Is this only limited to one story?
As many as you feel.
Sure. Yeah, sure. I have my younger brother, Gustavo, always teases me because he says, Gabriel, I have never met such an upside-down person like you my whole life. And the reason he says this is because he says, you went to this fancy university, to study how to be in agribusiness, and then you went to you're ready to start a great career after graduating from university. And then you leave all of that to go to become an actor. And then you work your butt off for 7 years. You get to you're now starring in soaps, telenovelas in Venezuela. And at the height of your career, you leave all of that to move to LA to become an extra and to go into the entertainment industry and start all over. And then he says, and then you work your ass off in Hollywood. You finally, after 7, 8 years, you produce and direct your first film. You finally made it, and then you leave all of that to move to South Africa to become a minister. And he's just like, I don't understand you, And I guess from the outside, that's kind of what it looks like when I tell people I'm following my heart, But the truth is that I can't say I plan on these things, I don't think the majority of us really planned, these unexpected events that basically send our life in a completely different direction. And the truth is that my life, each one of those transitions, was marked by an event that it was either the death of a person or the loss of something very dear to me that basically created a challenge and at the same time the opportunity to reinvent myself and transform myself. So, out of the series of stories, I think that the one that's most relevant at this moment is the one that actually brought me to where I am right now as a heart intelligence coach. And it happened 8 years ago when I had been pursuing what was really a relatively successful career in the entertainment industry. I was working in LA, producing films. And I came to South Africa to produce another film. And I was at the height of what was really like a fascinating moment. I was really on top of the world. I had never made so much money my whole life. I was feeling really just full of myself. I thought I like owned God, basically. Like I had God in my, the palm of my hand. And then in a period of about 2 weeks, my whole life was just turned upside down. When first I was mugged here in South Africa, and then shortly after that, I was fired from the production that had hired me, so I lost my job. And then within days after that, my mother died. She had just been diagnosed with cancer the month before. Wow. And suddenly, I found myself in a country where I didn't know anybody. Suddenly, with no money, no passport, I couldn't leave. I wasn't able I was not able to even go to my mother's funeral. Feeling so heartbroken, wondering, what just happened? And in the middle of my brokenness, and my despair and all my grief, the only thing I knew was I don't want to go back to LA. Somehow I just felt, like if the universe had taken away literally my ID, my driver's license, my passport, my credit card, like everything. It's like the universe was about to give me a new identity. And so I decided to stay in South Africa and become a volunteer for 3 years for an NGO. And then during that time, I also began studies in New Thought, Ancient Wisdom, spirituality. And then that was really the beginning of me starting to reconnect with myself, with, the name of your summit is the Joyous Light, which is exactly that. I started connecting with that joyful light within my own heart, remembering who I've always really wanted to be when I was a kid. And so, along the journey, I became a minister, ran a spiritual community, taught meditation. And, from that, I transitioned into being a spiritual counselor. And then 4 years ago, I decided to create this business, Heart and Mind Consulting, and really focus on helping people whose life were falling apart, just like mine had completely falling apart, and who wanted to start reconnecting with their own inner light within their heart and be remembered who they really are in essence and what they came here to do. And so, I'm able to take people into that place because I myself have been in that space, many, many times. And I know what it feels like when the life that you thought you had or who you thought you were suddenly is gone and you're being asked to step forward into the next level of your evolution, of your unfoldment.
Yes. And your experience is so heartfelt. And I love how you know how to take that. You said a challenge and an opportunity. That was a huge challenge, yes. And yet you turned that into an opportunity by following your heart, which, can you tell what is the path of the heart that you have created, and how is that different from other paths?
Yeah, sure. In the middle of my brokenness, 8 years ago, I remember, because I had no friends in Cape Town, suddenly I'm in the city, I'm staying at a backpackers, and I don't know anybody, and so I thought I went to see a psychic because I said, well, at least I'll pay somebody, to get a reading, to get some guidance and direction. And this woman, her name is Joanne. She grabbed me. We actually did the reading. She did like a tarot card reading in this beautiful park outdoors. And she basically said to me, your heart has been calling on you for a very long time, but you've been refusing, the call to adventure. And so this whole thing had to happen so that enough light could get inside, so your heart had to break so that enough light could get inside so that you could start really listening to the treasure that's inside your heart. And I was like blown away because I had never heard such thing as like, a treasure inside my heart. What are you talking about? So I said to her, well, what do I do? And then she just simply said, Gabriel, just listen to your heart. Listen to your heart as if your life depended on it, because it does. And then she literally just got up and said, our time is up. I got to go. See you later. I was just like, okay, what do I do? And so that left me intrigued. Was like, what is this treasure inside my heart? What does she mean? What does this mean? And so that planted the seed that later on, when I started studying what all the different spiritual traditions had to say about the heart, it all started coming together and realizing that, my goodness, original Christianity, Jesus spoke about the heart. There's all this, this imagery that we have about the Sacred Heart of Jesus. What does that mean? Sufism speaks about the heart. Kabbalah will speak about the heart. The Native Americans speak about the heart. And that got me so interested in the heart and realizing, my goodness, all these traditions talk about this path of the heart. What is this? So I started, I literally became obsessed. And so I started reading every book I could find, speaking, taking every seminar. I became a heart intelligence coach through the Institute of Heart Math that has been studying and researching this thing that is called the intelligence of the heart. And then out of that began to evolve something that I myself started referring to as the path of the heart, that goes beyond just the path of love or compassion that is referred to, for example, as the path of the heart under Buddhism. But I started adding to this thing that Joanna had told me about, this treasure inside your heart. So I started defining this path of the heart as the transformational journey that you embark on. When you make the decision to love yourself enough to courageously go after 100% of what you believe in your mind, and deep inside in your heart, it's possible for you, for your life. And because it's a transformational journey, along this journey, you not only transform yourself, but you also transform the people around you, and therefore you transform the entire world.
Yeah. Yes, that is beautiful. You change yourself, and it influences and affects so many others around us. And what a good influence we want to be.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So it appears that I'm going on a journey, towards taking something that appears to be like a dream and turning that into a project. But the path begins to send you in a particular direction. And inevitably, what I think is really ironic about this path is that it's begun by you following this inner wisdom, this guidance that's coming from your heart, or literally from your soul, through your heart, as the communication or the message center. But it begins by following, and then along the journey, you become a leader. Because a leader is somebody that follows a direction. That's what makes you a leader. You lead. You move towards something. Whether if it's something that is a particular, physical direction, or some kind of a vision of the world or the life that you wish to have and create.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh, that makes so much sense. Can you address why is it so hard for people to follow their hearts? Why is it so difficult to access that wisdom? Or is it?
Yeah. Sure. For me, it's a bit of a twofold answer. And number one, because what most people fail to realize is that we have, and this has now been proven by science, we have three primary centers of intelligence. First, we have, of course, our brain that is just filled with neural cells. Then we have our hearts that, as the Heart Math Institute's research shown, contains its own group of neural cells that the neuroscientists call the heart's brain. Okay, so the heart has a mini brain attached to it, which is why we're able to do heart transplants. Mm. And then there is the intelligence within the gut, within the entire, the gut system in the intestines. And so we're constantly receiving information from these three intelligence centers. And so what happens is a lot of people, they listen to their gut and they think that's their heart. Or they listen to their information that's coming from their brains or their minds and they think that's the heart. Or they connect with the heart and they think that's the brain. So we have not really been properly to discern, where the information is coming from what centers. And so the way I like to explain to people is that the heart, and this, by the way, this is not my interpretation. This is actually what the ancient Taoists believed and taught, that the heart is the emperor, the brain is the king, and the gut is the samurai. So the nobility, the values, the deeper values are contained within the heart. And the greater vision is within the heart of the emperor. Then there is the king, that he rules. So it's all about rules, what's right, what's wrong. The king's rule. So about rules and regulations. And then you have the samurai, which is the one that actually goes into battle and actually either runs towards an enemy and attacks or flees in danger because he's afraid. And so, when I tell myself I didn't have the guts to do this, I was overwhelmed by fear. Normally that's wisdom and intelligence that's coming from the gut, which actually is designed to preserve your life. Your highest ideals for your vision, for your life, that intelligence, that higher vision for what's possible for your life, that lives within the heart. The heart is a true organ of vision. And funny enough, it's the organ that generates the largest electromagnetic field in the body. And what is electromagnetic, energy? It's light. So the bigger light in your body is actually created in your heart, not in your brain. Your brain has a lot less electric output than the heart. The heart generates at least 50 to 60 times more electricity than the brain, and between 5,000 and 6,000 times more magnetism than the brain. Wow. And so when we're worried about how to do things, the brain is a wonderful tool for figuring out how to do things. It's because it creates. The mind is creative. But when you bring this creativity to the service of the heart, of what's good and noble and loving, then you really begin to have, all systems in a line, or you begin to have a kingdom that is no longer divided. So you now have, literally the emperor, the king, and the samurai all on the same page. The problem is when many of us are just move through life and, the gut says one thing, the heart says another thing, the head says another thing, and we're so split and we're weakened because of how split we are. So that's one aspect of it. That's the first aspect, that we have three levels of intelligence. The second aspect to why we fail to connect with our hearts is because I believe that the heart has what I call three layers. Okay? And by this I mean, I used to really struggle because I couldn't understand why the heart was the center of love, of especially this divine spiritual love. Why at the same time the heart was the center of emotional systems, and why did I feel anger and rage and fear and all these things that also I refer to as the emotions of the heart, because the heart also speaks to you through the language of emotions. Right. And then I became aware of the work of a guy named Bradley Nielsen, who wrote about this thing that he calls the heart wall. And what he basically says is that within the heart, there is an electromagnetic wall that basically is designed to protect this soft, unconditional, loving core of the heart. So based on this, I realized that the heart has three layers. It has first an outer layer that I call the superficial heart. And I call it the superficial heart because it's the layer through which the superficial emotions move through. So I call this the feeling of your thinking. So in other words, every time that you have a thought, let's say you're walking down the road and you see a rope and you think it's a snake, and then immediately, you react with anger. That is not an emotion that's coming from the heart. It was caused by something that you thought it was. When you look at it, like at your partner and, he appears to be ignoring you, or you're ignoring me, and that makes me really angry when people ignore me. So it is because I think you're ignoring me that I get angry. So I'm experiencing the feeling of my thoughts. So my feelings are being generated by my thinking. So that's the first layer. Yes, exactly. It's your interpretation, but it's being caused by your thinking. Then you have this layer of the heart, of a wall that is basically designed to protect the inner core of the heart. And this is one of the reasons why many of us cannot access the wisdom of the heart, because we're numbed. We're blocked. We can't access this deep inner feelings because there's literally this wall that I have to overcome. The wall, which, by the way, it's either dissolved from the inside, when you really move into the place of absolute unconditional love, or it's broken from the outside when things like the death of a close, relative, or when you get sick, or, where something comes and literally, like, I call it the proverbial 2x4 from life, comes and it hits you, so that's what happened to me. When my mother died, I lost my job, I was mocked, when all these things happened, my heart was cracked, and with that cracking was that wall was cracked. And it was me beginning to access that inner core of the heart, that is the connection with the divine, it's the connection with your soul, it's the connection with that unconditional loving aspect of yourself that has been the witness. That out of which then wisdom, guidance begins to be made accessible to you. So that's the answer. We have the three levels of intelligence so a lot of people confuse the heart with other systems of intelligence. And then also the majority of us have a wall, an unconscious, basically a wall made up of unconscious electromagnetic energy that is designed to literally to protect this feeling, this deeper feeling, more vulnerable aspect of ourselves. Mm-hmm.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. There's a lot to that. Okay, so with all that knowledge, what can we do when someone is struggling in life with prosperity, with relationships, happiness, or success? How can we address that? What do we do?
Okay, well, it's a bit of a general question, because it's like I don't want to give one answer because it's
right. And it applies. Maybe better said, how in your work, how would you address or help someone transition, going through rising above challenges and finding that joy?
Yeah, well, it's here's what I know. When you look at the chakra system, of these energy wheels or energy centers where like high concentration of energy moves through our bodies, the heart chakra is at the center. It's at the center of the heart, of the chakra system, and it's also the busiest one. And it's because it's really where all the lower chakras and the higher chakras, where they come together, where we basically, the intelligence of the planet meets the intelligence of the divine, or where the human meets the divine. Okay, so that's kind of like a vertical line. But then there's a horizontal line, which is about bringing that intelligence, that love, that wisdom out into the world, horizontally, okay? Now, the reason I'm talking about this is because when we talk about prosperity, when we talk about abundance, when we talk about, this thing that you're talking about, it really is let me just ask you, like, where does money come from?
A lot of people would say, well, from the bank or my boss or my job.
Yes, very good. Yes. When you said your boss, you're kind of getting a hint at it. You're getting close to, the answer I'm looking for, which means money always comes from other people.
Okay.
People say it comes from my company, comes from the bank, but really, it comes from another person who hired you, who liked you, who you connected with whom you began a relationship. I'm a professional coach, so the money that I create, that I earn, that I welcome, comes from clients who hire me, people that buy and sign up for my coaching and my trainings. So what does that mean? Is that your heart is that center where I can bring my love, my compassion, my ability to connect with others and connect with people from a more real, vulnerable, and authentic space. So the more I can create connection from this space, and the more I can serve other people from this space, what do you think that effect is gonna be on my bank account?
Would increase, improve.
Exactly. You know, the better my relationships, the more people like me, connect with me, the more they want to work with me, the more money I'm going to end up having in my bank account.
Right.
You know, it's something that a lot of people are so focused on the how, you know, in the sense of like, I have to have the right system, you know, and I tell people, you know, you already have a system, built-in system, that is designed to help you connect with people from a real, authentic space. Just be you and connect with people and serve people. You know, really connect and get really, you know, another word for love is curiosity. So get curious about the people that you're here to serve. And before you know it, you're being hired, and you're going to see your balance, your ability to welcome money and finances, you know, in ways you never imagined begin to happen. So your connection with the heart allows your ability to connect with more people, and then your ability then through serve those people so that you can create more money. Your connection with your heart also is your center, as I said, with your higher wisdom or intelligence, right? So it is from that space that you can then begin to instinctively or accept that intuitive guiding aspect of yourself that can then tell you where to go, what to do, who to call, literally begin to draw towards you. And the heart is the center of your electromagnetic system, generates the largest electromagnetic field. So it literally, by the process of magnetization, you know, draw towards you the right people, event, and circumstances that, you know, that will prosper you. You know, not only that, you know, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I just think that applies to just not just finances, but relationships, happiness, just everything. That coming from your heart affects everything around us.
Exactly. You're literally entered into I call it an attractor field, where you begin, you know, it's like you switch into a new channel, where that channel, you know, just like you have CNN is all about, you know, news, mostly bad news, you know, and you have other channels that are only about money, or Nat Geo that's all about nature. It's like you enter a challenge that's all about connection, love, service, and it's in alignment with literally the energy that is self-nurturing. Therefore, it begins to nurture you, you know, and you begin to nurture others at the same time. You know, your heart is also the center of your emotional well-being. You know, that's one of the big discoveries that the Institute of HeartMath has done. You know, they realize that the heart holds the key for managing your emotions and balancing your hormonal system that is really responsible for the majority of the stressful emotions that you feel. So you begin to basically go into your heart, harmonize your system, activate what they call coherence, which is a state of flowing with life. And it's also a state where both your right and your left hemisphere of your brains begin to communicate. You know, so this rational aspect of yourself begins to communicate with the instinctive, creative aspect of yourself. Therefore, you're using a greater capacity of your brain and your capacity to see the bigger picture. You know, from that place, literally, your life begins to transform. So, you know, so my suggestion to anybody, you know, is who may be struggling financially or with regards to life direction, is to really begin to, you know, rather than being like-minded, I say, you know, start being heart-minded, which means literally begin to listen to your heart, begin to breathe into your heart, begin to start accessing the emotions of love and compassion that live within your heart, and begin to then from that space begin to listen to the wisdom of your own heart and the guidance that's beginning to come from that place.
That is beautiful. And it sounds simple. It just needs something we need to trust in and believe in and work towards. I think our time, this has been wonderful, and I think our time is about up. But before we end, do you have any last thoughts? Anything that you want to share, words of wisdom? You've covered so much, and it's been beautiful. Is there anything else you would like? Any closing thoughts?
Sure. Again, your summit is about finding that joyful light within your own heart. And anybody that might be listening to this right now, if you find yourself that you are in a space of fear about your future, about current financial situation, whatever that might be, if all you do is bring one hand, it doesn't matter which one it is, to your heart, breathe into your heart deeply and evenly. Allow yourself to slow down to the speed of your own heart and begin to evoke the memory or a time in your life when you felt happy. Okay, so you activate the energy of love and appreciation. If you can't get to love, maybe just go for appreciation. If you can find that space of appreciation, the moment you do that, Melanie, there begins to your literally the DNA, the electromagnetic frequency of your own body begins to change, activating the state of flow and coherence. And out of that space, literally, miracles, new ideas, a new way can begin to be shown to you. Just like I was shown a way, out of this, basically my heartbreak and my confusion that I moved through, when I started to really pay attention to my heart, regardless of where you are in life, the moment you start doing that, you begin to be guided by something much bigger than yourself. You can call this your bliss, you can call it your joyous light, you can call it your heart, whatever it is, but it is an aspect of yourself out of which literally light is always coming forth and emanating.
That is beautiful. I did that as you were explaining it, and it just felt this calm and this peace just flow through. It's beautiful.
Great. Hey, well, for anybody that wants to learn how to access this, this wisdom or this guidance or to amplify the heart frequency, anybody that wants to learn more how they can do this. I offer a free 2-week course at my online academy. Is it okay if I tell people about how they can access this course?
That was the next thing I wanted to ask you.
Great. Yeah. So if you go to my Academy for Applied Heart Intelligence, and the website is www.appliedheartintelligence.com.
And we'll have a
sign up for it. Yes, great. So you can sign up for a 2-week free course, mostly audios, and there's some video lessons where you can start learning these different practices and other practices that I've also included in there. They're all designed to deepen your connection with your heart, to activate what I call the law of the heart, which is learning how to uncover that treasure that lives within your heart, that seed. And we'll literally start accessing the guidance that will guide you towards your heart's deepest desires.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. That sounds amazing. And thank you for being so generous and sharing. And let me just tell our audience to do that, to go to the site, to just click. All you have to do is click the link, learn more about Gabriel, and accept this amazing free gift. Thank you for being so generous. And Gabriel, thank you for being here. This time has been so uplifting, and we appreciate this.
You were welcome, Melanie. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my message.
Thank you. And I want to thank everyone who is listening and encourage you to live a life filled with joy.